Hello guys, I'm here to record the videos that I have promised, the tutorial videos. As you can see, I'm running very late and I have nothing prepared. So what I'll do is I'm just gonna go into the um, the tutorials and do as much as we can for tonight. Obviously, I have not, like I said, I've not prepared a lot for it, and I've also decided to record the tutorials in English, and the reason behind this is just in case we have non-Somali speakers, colleagues who are going to work with us in the future, they can benefit from the previously recorded videos. So let's start. What I'm going to do is, for simplicity, I'm going to start from the beginning. And beginning, I don't mean like I'm installing stuff like Jhipster and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to simply create a Jhipster application. And what I want you to understand is what Jhipster is and all that kind of stuff. Just a brief explanation about Jhipster is it is a generator that would give us the code that normally we would have written, something called boilerplate code, which is all the generic code that you would have required to develop an application, given a requirement. For example, if you have a requirement of developing a point of sale system, you need a lot of code, and also from different areas, and also from different expertise of different of your employees. Maybe you need the front end developers, you need the database designers, you need the back end developers knowledge and all that kind of stuff. And this is called full end-to-end application. And it's possible that one person develops this, and this kind of person is called a full stack developer, a person who knows from the end, from Java development to JavaScript development to deployment of servers to database querying and all that kind of stuff. That is a person who knows almost everything, but it will take him a long time to develop a small application even. But there's tools that can help him, like this tool called the Jhipster generator, which will generate for us the database stuff, tables, the back end Java, the front end JavaScript stuff, whether it's React or front end Angular and all that kind of stuff. So what it is, it's a generator. Don't worry about what it was developed with. For example, it might have been developed with script, bash scripting or Yeoman or any programming language. What concerns us is the output, the generator itself. A generator takes input, it transforms that input, it gives us an output, and the output that Jhipster gives us is the code, the source code that we want. And this source code is our Java backend with Spring Boot application configured project that normally we would have created with Eclipse or Spring Boot, Spring project creator, or maybe a front end. Also, it will give us a project that the source code that you normally would create with create project app, create a React app. Command line, whatever, or generator, and also merge all of them together. The Webpack stuff, it will do the eject stuff, all this kind of stuff for you, and just give you a production ready application that you can deploy to any server that you want. But also it gives you your development environment. There's a lot of stuff, other stuff it includes in there, like the Docker configuration, database, so many different types. Because the good thing about generators, the input they take is the options. You could say, I don't want MySQL, I want a document based database like Cassandra or any other database you want. You could say that I don't want my build tool to be Gradle, I want it to be Maven. You could say that, all that kind of stuff, and all these things, it just puts in there for you automatically and gives you a project that you can just right click, and it looks like as if you were working on your project for 3 months, even though you've just generated it in 10 seconds. So that's the overall. If you want more information about Jhipster, you just go to the Jhipster website. Just type Jhipster on your browser, Jhipster.io or something, the new website they call it. And this is Jhipster, and there are ways like you can install Jhipster. You don't need to anymore worry about the Yeoman, which is the sub generator, that the generating language that it was generator language that it was generated with. So you just do npm install on your command on your computer. You create a directory and you just run that Jhipster. So we're going to start from there, as if I'm assuming that you already have. Obviously, this assumes that you have Node, you have Node installed, you have Yarn installed, and all that kind of stuff. So if you don't know how to install Node, just Google it. It's easy. If you don't know how to install Yarn, and you also need npm to install the package that you need to. But by the way, the command that you're seeing here, npm and all that kind of stuff. If you're just a pure Java developer and you've never been interacting with JavaScript recently and Node and all that kind of stuff, you would think like, this is will not give me a Java code. It's just a JavaScript code. How can I get a JavaScript code with the fact that you have Node here is the Yeoman that Jhipster was developed with, the generator was developed with. It's based on JavaScript basically. So it's a Node based stuff. So it is code. Basically, whatever the generators you have is stored in the the Node package management repository, which is equivalent to like a Maven of Java, basically. So you can just basically download the Jhipster generator from there to your computer and use it, and then it will give you the output of JavaScript. You can just say, even I want just the back end Java, only don't create the client side of the front end, and also that kind of stuff. And Jhipster, the first one, when we just run Jhipster command first time, it will give us the common stuff. Our application has a lot of common stuff, and what the common stuff means, if you're Chinese or if you're American, or if you're a Somalian in Somalia trying to write a Java application, there is a common thing, or an application, basically an enterprise application. There are common things like the connection to the database, the security, the user interfaces, the so many stuff, like a lot of the stuff that all the applications that everyone develops have in common. And there's specific stuff, the domain specific stuff, like the program, your requirement, and this means if your domain specific stuff, if you're developing an application for a hospital, it will include doctors for the hospital. It would include the medicine, the prescription, all that kind of stuff. Another domain would be if you're developing an application for let's say for a construction building, then it will include the buildings, the the engineers, and all that kind of stuff. And what this allows you to do is, like, that means each domain specific code that you generate also requires to have database tables. It needs to have backend Spring Boot or Java, many levels of like the of layers. It would have I think I have, just to quickly give you I told you I'm not prepared for it, but I think there is a presentation I have prepared previously about this topic, and this I think I need here. I'll try to be quick, but I'll try to record the videos maximum 10 minutes so that you can stop it, but hopefully I can edit it later to stop. But I need to quickly go into the drive and maybe find one of the presentations that I have done previously, preparing basically to Jhipster backend lesson. Yeah, let's have a look at this one. I think it could be this one. So this is a Google Docs or presentation, which is called Google Presents. It's called Google Presentations. So this is the one I wanted to talk about, the what it does and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just talking here. Let me take here. So these are the common stuff I was talking about. For example, when I say the Chinese or American or a Somalian in Somalia trying to develop an application, they have a lot of common stuff. And these common stuff include the user management. You have to do almost the same thing. Security, whether it's authentication, API rate limiting, internationalization. If you want to talk about the internationalization, it this is the translations, how you translate your many different across different languages. How you access the database is the same. Mailing, how you send is almost the same. Load balancing between your microservices. This service microservice discovery is another one. Logging is another one, and testing is another one. All these things are very each application, each person developer develops have in common. And the transaction management, the deployment, metrics, first, continuous integration, how you do it, caching, validation, file upload, all these kind of stuff have things in common. But there could be some other stuff that is specific to your application, which is like I said, if it's the domain is specific. So Jhipster allows you to generate all these common stuff automatically in 3 seconds, and then you can also to give you another way of giving you like something called a JDL, where you it's a DSL for specifying entities. For example, if you say doctor, hospital, engineers, all that kind of stuff, yeah, and then their relationship one to many to relationships, and then you specify that, and then you feed it to Jhipster, and it also generates your domain specific code design. And that means it gives you the front end, it gives you the middle, the back end, it gives you the database tables. It also allows you to gives you tools to manage that, like liquid base and all that kind of stuff. So this is beautiful, it's fantastic. And that means you can develop an application in very short time, as if you have your own team, even though you could be a one-man person, one-man team basically. And this is, I'm not going to go deep into this about the Spring Boot, the starters that are included inside Jhipster. A lot of the stuff that normally you would if you have developed a Java backend application and then you want to do a lot of integrations, like even simple things like adding Swagger to your Swagger to your Jhipster Spring Boot application, or maybe liquid base, or in-memory databases. Like there used to be a lot of headaches, but there is some dependencies that Jhipster takes advantage of. So Jhipster is based at the back end, it's based on Spring, and Spring Boot is fantastic in a way that it's like a Jhipster itself. So it does a lot of automatic configurations, it does loading of classes and to the back end and all that kind of stuff. So all these starters, which means by the way, Spring Boot, if you see the word starter in front of a dependency in Jhipster, it means this is in Spring. It means that this one starter consists of many other dependencies that normally in the old days when Spring Boot was not there. For example, this one cloud starter could be like, actually obviously cloud didn't exist, but like this one let's say like historics, you could consist of two independent submodules that you import to your POM XML file, the Maven file. So I'm not going to go do it, but these all already are wrapped and they have been reduced to the minimum by Spring. But Jhipster even makes even better, and it combines all of this together. And as Spring Boot is also controlling the auto configuration of this, then even Jhipster even makes it even simpler, and it gives you the development configurations, the production configurations, the integration with Docker inside your application, and also all the Docker configuration files, and so much. A lot of the most difficult things about when you're developing an enterprise application is the configurations and how you integrate two tools and then make sure that the integrations work. There's a lot of things that could go wrong in there, and it gives you time. It's time consuming stuff that will take forever to debug basically. So basically Jhipster will also give us this Spring Boot dependencies, take other dependencies and put it together, gives us the other thing. So quickly to go into the Spring Boot, how Spring Boot is laid in the back end. It's we have a web layer where we have our RESTful APIs, and they use DTOs basically. To when you're passing information to RESTful APIs, you use DTOs. DTOs is nothing but it's the mapping of our back end um, JPA entities, and JPA entities are also mapping of our database tables. So, for example, if you have a table of 10 fields, basically, and you map it to a Java JPA object. So this is a Java representation of your database. So all the data that normally you store in there, you can also store in this one. Each row you can install one Java entity, basically object. But if, for example, this is your user entity and it has username and also password and that kind of stuff, and some application here wants to know the details of this user, you don't want to pass the password to the application, because it's going to go over the internet and someone can intercept and they can just steal your data. So what you need to do is you need just to have another object, and this is called a DTO object, to map the information that you want to send it to the handset, and that information, those fields do not include the password. So it's just a subset of this JPA entity, and but it's just designed so that you can transfer over the internet and pass the data to the, but also you can also convert it from the other way. So there are converters like Mapstruct that would allow you to convert from here to there, and to convert also from DTO to JPA entities. um, and so this is the where the request, the HTTP request comes in, and that also sends the HTTP response of that request, and it could be the view, the APIs, and the views also. The other thing here we have is the service layer, and this is where we put our business logic stuff, like something specific to our business, and we do some processing before we put things into the database. And this is the route to the database in the repository layer. This is when we want to store something. For example, if we want to store someone just registered and the user's information has been passed to the web layer, then it's passed to the service layer. We could add something extra, like the data that the user has registered, which is today. You can register whether it's active or not. We can also send an email here, registration email in the service layer, and then when we're ready, then we restore the database. If we want to connect to the database, we use the repository layer, which knows how to implement how to implement normally Spring Data stuff is here. For example, JPAs, also the implementation of it, like Hibernate and all that kind of stuff, which knows how to talk to the database. We don't have to worry about. We just give it the information to here, because Jhipster previously allowed us to configure automatically JPA with Spring Data with Hibernate. All that kind of stuff are completely and basically configured for us, so we just need to pass the data. Very easy. The other thing here we have is Jhipster general backend. For example, you have filters and you have controllers. Controllers are nothing but where the RESTful APIs are basically shown in here. So you have the controllers. An example, if you have a look at Jhipster classes, I've given some concrete examples here, even though this is not very, it's, can, let me see if I can zoom in. But basically, as you can read, it says account, resources, gateway, resources, and all that kind of stuff. So these are controllers, and these are the services that the other layer I've shown you, and these are the repositories. So these are examples of the three layers that I have shown you, which you can just take and then use. The filters are mainly for intercepting requests. So if you want to, for example, and you want to count the number of APIs of a particular API that it's called get users, how many times an application can use. You can use the rate limiting filter. So as soon as a HTTP request comes in, we intercept by the filters intercept that, and then they can inject something extra into the headers. They can remove something from the headers. They can transform the request, and then they pass on as a chain to the controllers, which is where the RESTful APIs are basically exposed. And then from there, from the RESTful APIs, we pass it to the services API, and then to the repository, and then the database, and then the response also takes the same flow. And on the left, as you can see, the client, so that either you call it from browser or Android or Apple, or maybe even simple curl RESTful API hit. You can do it. You can even do it from anywhere you want. So these are basically the examples. So I need to go fast. I'm not gonna do more explanation of this. So let's just go back to the original stuff that we wanted to do. Now that you know what we trying to target, nothing else I can tell you about. So that is the general stuff. I'm gonna stop there as one of the recordings, and then later basically I'm going to continue that now that you know what Jhipster generator is, which is a tool that you can normally use for generating boilerplate and domain specific code for your application. And by the way, we use JDL imports basically to generate that. I'll show you later how to do that when you prepare your JDL stuff. Second thing, we now know where to get the Jhipster if you want to download it. Yeah, we've discussed that you need npm. We've discussed that you can also use Yon, which is another. Actually, we haven't discussed that, but you can use Yon or npm to build. We will see that later in the thing, and that is the general description of the back end side of the application, and also the front end, which you can either use to build with React or Angular. Even for our example, we will use React. So let me stop this here, and then I'm going to start the other video, which talks about how to build just an application with React, and as well as Spring Boot backend with Jhipster.